Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall. And so to do that, we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1,003.2. And so as money, that would be £1,003.20. So the only options for the next card are for them to be higher, lower, or equal to 12. We already know that the probability for it being higher is 19% and lower is 28%. And all probabilities have to add up to 1, or in this case, because it's percentages, 100%. So to work out the probability that is missing, we're going to take away the 19% and the 28% away from 100% to see what's left, and that's 53%. So we've got to first of all make these both the same units, because at the moment they are different units, and when we have ratios we always want to make sure that they have the same units, and then we can get rid of the units. So I'm just going to make them both into grams. I'm going to do that by timesing the right by 1,000. And the reason I've chosen grams rather than kilograms is you want to always pick the smaller unit. Otherwise you'd be left with a decimal on the left hand side, you'd be 0.2, and that can be a bit more complicated. Okay, so I'm going to remove the units now, and we're just going to focus on the numbers. So we can divide both sides by 100. Straight off the bat, so we've got 2 to 40. We can see we can divide them both by 2. And so we've got 1 to 20. And so it's 1 gram to 20 grams, or just 1 to 20. A sample space diagram is basically a diagram that shows all the outcomes. And we've got the outcomes from spinner 2 at the top, so either 1, 2, or 3. And we've got the outcomes from spinner 1 down the side, so A, B, C, D, or E. And we're just writing down all the combinations. So this will be A2, A3, and then this will be B1, C1, D1, E1, and this will be B2, C2, D2, E2, and this will be B3, C3, D3, and E3. And this represents all the possible outcomes you can get from both spinners. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. The multiplier is 1.012, so we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane, and so let's do Lenny, and so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%, We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. To prove triangle congruence, you're going to have one of four answers. You're either going to have RHS, SSS, angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle, and the last one, side, angle, side. So those are our options. So we've got to figure out what we have in this question. Well, we have a right angle, so an angle or right angle. We've got a side, which is actually the hypotenuse, because we know the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. And then we just have another side. Now, it's not going to be SSS because we don't have three sides. We do have a side and an angle and a side, but the two sides are not next to the angle, so it's not going to be that one. And we don't have two angles, so it's not going to be this one. So the last one is RHS, which is right angle, which we have, hypotenuse, which we have, and side. So factorise means to put it into a bracket, and it looks like it's a quadratic here, but it's actually just a linear factorising because we don't have a number term. So we're going to just use one bracket for this. And looking at these terms, I'm going to focus first on the numbers. So 20 and 30, I can divide both of those by 10, and that will leave 2 and 3. So that's the numbers done. Next, I'm looking at the t terms. So we've got t squared there and a t there. So we can divide out a t, but that will leave a t on the first term. And finally, I'm going to look at the u, and there's just a u on both of them I can factorise out, and actually that just leaves nothing on the inside of the bracket. Now, always when you do this, expand the bracket to check if you've made any mistakes. So I'm going to do smiles and rainbows. There's loads of different methods. So 10 times 2 is 20, t times t is t squared, and then the u, plus 10 times 3 is 30, times t times u. So we know we've got the right answer. So our answer is 10tu brackets 2t plus 3. So 7 times 10 to the power 4 is going to be 7, and it's going to be 70,000. And 9 times 10 to the power of 7 will be 90 million. And so when you add them together, you get 9007000. Now, if you have access to a calculator, if this is on the calculator paper, then you can just type it into your calculator. Some people think there's a quick way of doing this, like adding the 7 and the 9. There isn't. You've just got to work out what this number is, work out what this number is, and add them together. To convert from meters to centimeters, we times by 100. But here we're asked to convert between meters cubed and centimeters cubed. So we times it by 100 per dimension. Meters cubed and centimeters cubed is volume, which is 3 dimensions. So what we do is we times it by 100 3 times, times 100, times 100, times 100, or times by 100 cubed. So we get our amount, 0.15, times it by 100 cubed, and that will give us 150,000. So our answer is 150,000 centimeters cubed. Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going until I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. The formula for the circumference of a circle is circumference equals pi times the diameter. In this question we're given the fact that the circumference is 37.7 and we're asked to find the diameter. So if we put our lines in, all we need to do is divide both sides by pi. So we've got 37.7 divided by pi equals the diameter, and so that is, when you round, well, it's 12.00 blah blah blah, round to the nearest integer, that would be 12 centimeters. And we can try it by typing in 12 times pi and we get what would round to 37.7. So we're asked to find the bearing of Freetown from Gamley, so that is this angle here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find this angle, and this will obviously be 90 degrees because the hiker walked west and it's against the west line and the north line, so it's definitely 90 degrees. So we can work out what the bearing is if we know that angle inside the triangle. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. Well, we've got a 90 degrees here, we've got hypotenuse here, we've got the adjacent here next to the angle, and we've got the opposite, which is across from the marked angle. Here we're not using the hypotenuse, so we can cross that out. And we can do our SOHCAHTOA. And the only one that doesn't have the hypotenuse is TOA. And so we're doing tan x equals the opposite, which is 49 over 98. Get our lines in. And we're going to do the inverse tan to both sides. So we get x equals, and we do inverse tan, which is 26.565, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we know that the whole of the way around up until this point is 270 because we've got this 90 degree left. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to work out the bearing. So bearing, we're just going to do 270, take away the 26.565, blah, blah, blah. And that gives us 243.434, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to the nearest whole number, so that's going to be 243. So we're going to first of all draw a tree diagram for this information. You don't have to, but it is easier to understand what's going on. And so the first choice will be the first pick. It'll either be male or female. And the second choice will be the same, male and female. And looking at the questions, there are 3 male names in the hat and 5 names in total. So the fractions for the first one will be 3 over 5. If there's 3 male names, there'll be 2 females. Now, if we've picked a male name already, there'll be 2 left and 4 left in total. If we haven't picked a female, there's still 2 females, but there's 4 left in total. If we picked a female, there'd still be 3 males and only 4 left in total, but there'd only be 1 female left. 1 female name left and 4 left in total. Okay, we're looking for the probability that the genders of the names are different. So looking at the outcome here would be male-male, that's not what we're interested in. Here would be male-female, we are interested in. Female-male, we are interested in. And female-female, we're not interested in. So we're not interested in these ones. And the way that tree diagrams work is as you go along the tree, any fractions you go across, you multiply together to find the outcome. So this will be 3 over 5 times 2 over 4. And I realise I could cancel 2 over 4, but I generally cancel at the end. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to do the same with the other root. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4. So 2 over 5 times 3 over 4, 3/4. That would be 6 over 20. Now we're looking to see whether it was male and female or female and male. And the word or in probability means add. So it'd be 6 over 20 plus 6 over 20. And this is the probability of different, which will be 12 over 20. Now 12 over 20 will cancel to 3 over 5, or 3/5. So we're going to first of all find out how many potatoes were below 22 grams. So we're going to draw a line up at 22 and a line across, and that is 13. So there are 13 potatoes below 22 grams. And so to work out the probability of picking one below 22 grams, it's the amount that we have below that amount, or below that weight, over the total amount of potatoes, which will be 20. So it'd be 13 over 20, which is equal to 65 over 100. So that would be 65%. So we've got Billy and James and Sam. And James collects 20% more sand than Billy. So we've got James and he's plus 20%. And Sam collects 60% more sand than James. That's 60%. And you'd think you'd just add the two. Obviously, it's not going to be that easy for 3 marks. So the answer is not 80. What we've got to do is find the multipliers for each of these. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with 100%, add the 20%, and that would be 120%. Then we're going to get the 120, divide it by 100, and that gives us the multiplier, which would be 1.2. So the multiplier from Billy to James is 1.2. So however much Billy has, if we times it by 1.2, we get James's amount. Do the same for James to Sam. So start off with 100%, add 60, is 160%. Then just make that a decimal, so 160 divided by 100, 1.6. So if we multiply anything by 1.6, it will increase it by 60%. Now it says, by what percentage is the amount of sand collected by Sam greater than the amount of Billy? So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Billy being 100%, okay? We're going to times it by the 1.2 and then times it by the 1.6 and find out what the final percentage is. So when we do that, we get 192. So we started off with Billy's 100, we just made that up, but it just makes the maths nicer to use. And we ended up with Sam having 192. Well, what is 192 as a percentage increase of 100? Well, the reason we picked 100 is we can clearly see that it's gone up by 92%. So our answer is 92%. An exponential growth would show an increase from left to right, but the graph we've got in front of us, or the sketch, is showing it decreasing, so it's going to be a decay. In this question, it might be easier just to draw a quick diagram. So let's draw this equilateral triangle, and it says that its lengths are all 10 centimeters. And we're looking to find the area. Now, we also know with an equilateral triangle, all the angles are 60 degrees. So we can plot those, but we don't need to plot them all. We can just plot one of them. And we know that to find the area of a triangle, we can use this formula here, which is half AB sine capital C. And if we have a look at this diagram, we can label the sides. So I'll call this side, this angle C, and little c here, and little a here, and little b here. So let's put that into our formula. Little a is 10, little b is 10, and sine c, which is 60. So with a, b and c, it doesn't matter what you label A, B and C, as long as the angle is opposite the side with the same letter. The angles are all capital letters, the lengths are all lowercase. Okay, so let's put that into our calculator and we get the answer of 43.301, blah blah blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that is 43.3. So we're going to start by labelling the sides here. So we've got capital A up here, little a down here. It doesn't matter which one you label. Capital B here, little b here, then capital C here, little c here. So you notice the C's aren't really involved at all, but we've got the two A's, we've got the capital A and the lowercase a, and we've got the capital B and the lowercase b as part of the question. And so when you've got a pair or 2 pairs of angle and sides, you are going to be using the sine rule. And so the sine rule says that sine capital A over lowercase a is equal to sine capital B over lowercase b. Now you might be wondering why I've put sine A and sine B at the top, when sometimes this is written as the lowercase a and lowercase b at the top. Well, if we're looking for the angle, which we are here, we're looking for capital A, you put the angles at the top. If you're looking for the length, you put the lengths at the top. Okay, so we're going to fill this in. So sine, we're just going to leave that as sine A, because it's just, or sine x actually, shouldn't it be? Sine x over, and then lowercase a is 6, equals sine B, the angle is 35, over lowercase b, which is 7. Okay, we're going to work out what the right hand side is. So that's going to be 0.081 blah blah blah. And then we're going to be solving this. And the first thing we're going to do is times by 6 both sides. So we get sine x is equal to 0.491 blah blah blah. And then we're going to inverse sine both sides. And so we have x equals 29.448 blah blah blah. And our answer wants to be rounded to 2 decimal places, so we're going to put our answer as 29.45 degrees. So we're told that y is proportional to x squared. And the first thing I'm going to do is replace that proportionality sign with an equals, and to do that I've got to times the right hand side by k. So we get y equals kx squared. Then I'm going to replace the x and the y for the values given to find out what k is. So y is 75 when x is 5. So we know that 5 squared is 25. And then just quickly solve this. So I'm going to divide both sides by 25, and as you can quickly see, it should be 25. As you can quickly see, k is going to equal 3. Rewrite the equation. So I'm just going to rewrite this, but with k as 3. K is a constant, so we know that that will be correct for all values of y and x. Then it says find the value of x when y is 12. So I'm going to replace the y for 12, and then just simply solve. So I'm going to start by dividing both sides by 3. Then I'm going to square root both sides. So we've got the value of x equals 2. So we're given the equation of the line, which is y equals ka to the power of x. And we're given two coordinates. So we're looking at this first coordinate and put that into the equation. So y is 10 equals ka to the power of x, which is 1. And we're going to do the same with the other coordinate. So we've got 40 equals ka to the power of x, which is 3. Now look at what's happening to both sides. Here we're multiplying by a squared. So a to the power of 1 times a squared is a to the power of 3. And on this side, we're multiplying by 4. So we have to be able to conclude that a squared equals 4. And if we square root both sides there, a must equal 2. So if a equals 2, we can just put that into the first equation here. So we've got 10 equals k times 2. And divide both sides by 2, and we get 5 equals k, or k equals 5. So our answers will be k equals 5 and a equals 2. Now check that works. So let's have a look at this second coordinate. And we're going to do y equals, and we're going to do 5 times 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. 5 times 8 is 40. So we know that our equation works. This question is all about completing the square, but we've got to do something first. We have a coefficient of the x squared there, and we want to get rid of that. Whenever we do the completing the square, we need to have just x squared on its own, ideally. So we're going to divide out that 3, and so we're going to have 3 brackets, and then we're going to have the x squared minus 10x, close brackets, minus 11. Then we're going to complete the square with x squared minus 10x. So we're just going to copy in that 3 brackets. And how we do this is we create a bracket and we put the x at the start minus half of the coefficient of the x. So half of the 10 would be 5. Close bracket, squared. Now I'm going to leave that half done because down here I'm just going to, well, across here, I'm just going to expand that and show what that creates. So x times x, so that's the same as x minus 5, x minus 5. So we get x squared minus 10x plus 25. So notice here, it creates this plus 25, which we've got to deal with. And we deal with that by removing the 25, which we do here. Close brackets, minus 11. So the blue parts haven't changed. The kind of turquoise parts are the completing the square bit, but the minus 25 just removes that 25 that the x minus 5 squared brackets create. Okay, so we need to get that minus 25 outside the brackets. So we're going to expand the brackets slightly. Going to leave the 3 on the outside of the x. In fact, let's keep the colour scheme going. So we're going to have the x minus 5 squared bit there. 3 times minus 25, it's minus 75. And then we've got this minus 11 at the end. Okay, and we're very, very close to finishing. All we need to do now is sort out the minus 75 and the minus 11. And when we subtract those two, we get minus 86. Now the m part is going to be 3, the p part inside the bracket is going to be minus 5, and the q part is going to be minus 86. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.